Bucky Brooks. We got his mock draft pulled up. And the reason that I'm reacting to this is because making my own mock draft as we get closer, free agency's over, is kind of going to get repetitive. It's not a lot changing. So I want to see things from a different perspective, get some different viewpoints, and get some talking points because it could be some proof within this pudding. So he has CJ Stroud #1 to the Panthers. Interesting move. I think we talk about the representatives at the Pro Day. I think we talk about Josh McCown breaking them down on YouTube. And those are some interesting things, but I don't think that means that they're going to get CJ Stroud. I can see the pick, but I don't think that that's why. And maybe it could be that. It could be, but I think Bryce Young could still be in play just because he's so talented. And when you watch the film, that's not going to be an easy decision to walk away from it and make and say, oh yeah, this guy is just completely better than this one. But I mean, honestly, it's 1A and 1B for me. I think I would go with CJ Stroud for #1. I've been campaigning for that. But I think Bryce Young has a higher ceiling. It's just some things to be scared of with the size. I don't question anything on the field, but I don't question any of CJ Stroud's play either. I've heard the comparisons. People are comparing him to Jared Goff, guys like that. And I don't think that's a knock at all. We got to remember, Jared Goff, he just had an exceptional season with the Detroit Lions. Jared Goff can make just about all of the throws on the NFL field. The problem with Jared Goff and why he hasn't been a next level quarterback is because of Jared Goff. It's not because of any of his tools or any of his play. It's him. So if CJ Stroud possesses Jared Goff tools and comes in there with a different mentality, less turnovers, things of that nature, with a little more athleticism, I don't think that's a knock at all. So we say that, and the comparison is not beautiful. It's not Patrick Mahomes. It's not Michael Vick. It's not Peyton Manning. But it's a dang good quarterback that you're being compared to. So I like that, and I just want to say that before I get to #2. So #2, I'm guessing, and this is a raw reaction. I haven't seen this at all, but this is Bryce Young. And we can really expect this to be Bryce Young because, like I said, 1A and 1B. The Texans' version of the Kyle Shanahan system could transform Young into an early star. Alabama standout is a football savant with the IQ, instincts, and awareness to dominate opponents with pre-snap reads and post-snap execution. I say yes to all of it. Think it's a great move. This is very likely what we're going to see at 1 and 2. Now, I don't know if he has any trades on this, but I think once we get to #3, everything can pop. All the scenarios come into play. So I want to see what he has. If the Cardinals trade or if they sit and pick. So there may not be any trades in this. But I see Arizona Cardinals, they got Will Anderson. Cardinals still have a glaring need for a pass rusher, which is true. J.J. Watt just retired. Anderson fills the void as a high motor player, outstanding speed and skill. I don't think he's ever going to be the guy like a Von Miller. I don't think he's going to be a Micah Parsons. But you hear that Khalil Mack comparison a little bit, and I think he's more of a power rusher. Don't get me confused. I'm not saying he's not twitchy, but he's not of that 1 percentile. When we talk about guys coming off the edge, the production is there, the pressures are there. Did it in the SEC. I'm not a guy who says he played in the SEC, so he's just automatically better than this guy. I'm not doing that. But I do think he's a safe pick, and I think with the Jalen Carter situation, this is the best guy you could get at this spot. So let's go into #4. Oh, okay. Now we starting to shake it up a bit. Okay, Bucky. Tyree Wilson. Let me read what he said first. Adding a quarterback is the top priority. Given that free agent signing Gardner Minshew currently sits first on Indianapolis's depth chart, but the grades on the available QB1 prospects do not match the Colts' draft position. Wilson could give them a young, energetic pass rusher to pair with Kwity Paye on the edges. See, when I talk about this decision, it's really a question of direction to me. Because I understand next year we got a pretty good quarterback class. Drake May is my guy out of that class coming out next year, and Caleb Williams. Those are my guys coming out of that class. But how far is Gardner Minshew want to get you? So you get Tyree Wilson, and I can see it now. Like I said, I'm open to these perspectives. I can see why you want to get Tyree Wilson. You didn't re-sign Yannick Ngakoue. So now we're really bolstering up that defense to a defense that's already solid. We just traded away Stephon Gilmore. Gonna miss him. No, gonna miss him. But got Shaquille Leonard coming back. I feel like maybe, but if this is the thought process, I don't think you're going to be bad enough to hit on one of those young quarterbacks unless you want to get some draft capital and move up to get one of those guys. I don't know. I just find yourself, you got a chance to get a quarterback. I think you have to get, for me, I would get Anthony Richardson right here. You know, Will Levis, kind of tough on Will Levis. You know, not sure about him, but I think Anthony Richardson has the traits. And like I said, if we got to put together two puzzles, I want to put together the puzzle that's going to look better in the end. So I got to fix Will Levis. I got to fix Richardson too. Let's just, you know, let's fix the one that's going to ultimately have the higher ceiling. But interesting pick. Now let's see what goes on from here. Number 5, Seattle Seahawks, Jalen Carter. And a lot of people don't believe the Seahawks will get Jalen Carter because of previous situations, you know, with players and off the field things. And Pete Carroll, his mindset, nobody's bigger than the team. Nobody need to be distracting the team. So let's read this up. Pete Carroll and John Schneider take the best player available to upgrade a defense that needs a makeover after last season's disappointing performance. Carter's off-field issues must be examined carefully, but there's no question about the on-field talent. So now I'm talking about this. I don't think a lot of Seattle fans would like this. I mean, honestly, because what I've heard, what I've seen, they don't want no hands on Jalen Carter. So Tyree Wilson is gone in this situation. And I think that's the player who can really beat on this Seattle team and add to the edge, be a power rusher, stop the run at day one. But you don't get him right here. And what I do want to say, what I like to say, I think Anthony Richardson has to be in play. You got Geno, front-heavy deal. I've talked about it. A lot of people say it doesn't make sense, but that's a very front-heavy deal. And maybe I could get 2 years or a year and a half out of Geno. But I'm not trying to go with Geno Smith all the way down the road. You know, you can drop me off right here. Where I can catch a ride, you can drop me off to a certain destination. But I don't want you to take me all the way on this road trip back to the Super Bowl. So I think that would be in play here. Interesting. Let's go to number 6. Devon Witherspoon. The spectacular cover corner is a man-to-man coverage specialist. We already know about Devon Witherspoon. My cornerback 1. Like the move. I see they got Emmanuel Mosley, and I see that they got Cameron Sutton. Anthony Richardson, I just don't see him. If he's not going 4, how does he not go 5 or 6? So I'm starting to question, you know, maybe some teams, you know, they don't want a project. Totally understandable. Josh Allen dropped, Patrick Mahomes dropped. I get it. You know, I just feel like they're the perfect situations for those guys. Devon Witherspoon, though, you can play Cam Sutton in the slot. Mosley can be a depth piece. What do you want to do with Jeff Okudah? Are you going to trade him? Are you going to keep him? That's why this is important. So let's get over to the next one, man. Raiders. And this is really something I've been looking at and talking about. Christian Gonzalez to the Raiders. I really like this move the more I think about it. But like I said, I guess it's just the Anthony Richardson falling apart train. You know, they need secondary. They get secondary, second best, or you can even argue maybe will be in the future the best corner from this draft. In my last mock, I had the Raiders select Kentucky quarterback Will Levis here, but that was before they signed Jimmy Garoppolo, whose presence as a veteran signal caller enables Las Vegas. Okay, we understand that. They got Jimmy G. You want to add pieces to get the best around Jimmy G? I can understand it. I just think maybe it's me. Maybe it's me. Let me know in the comments. Is it me going too hard for Anthony Richardson? I don't know. So let's get to number 8. Atlanta Falcons, Lucas Van Ness. Love Lucas Van Ness. I could see him anywhere from this. I say maybe the 10 to the latest is probably the 16th-ish. I don't think he's going to be a late round guy. I think Miles Murphy is the guy who's falling in his first round. But Lucas Van Ness, though, Another power rusher. Didn't start at Iowa, but I already talked about him a lot. Can stop the run. I think that's his real selling point right now. And adding him to this Falcons defense can be that 3-4 edge. I see the scheme fit. So, this is pretty good. And I've seen them going a skill player. I like their offensive line. They just signed Lindstrom to a huge, massive deal. So I could see them going with a skill player right here. And when I say skill player, I don't mean receiver, running back, DB. A pass rusher, I feel like that's a skill player. So let's go to number 9 and see what we got. Okay, so this is interesting. I want to talk about this. I really want to talk about this because I got blasted. I got extremely blasted for talking about Peter Skoronski to the Chicago Bears. And I think you're getting a guy, you say he's a guard at the next level. I believe he's a tackle at the next level. Where we find the middle ground is, I believe he can be a left tackle. I believe he can be a right tackle. I believe his technique and his knowledge for the game can translate to a variety of positions across the offensive line. I think that's more valuable than a true right guard. We talk about a guy like Osiris Torrance. This is an extremely different deal because we talk about versatility and we want to get that best 5 on the football field. That's what I've been talking about with the Dallas Cowboys. Tyler Smith worked at left guard in training camp and then had to play left tackle. So this is what I'm talking about when I say that versatility is really important and it offers a lot to a football team. I like this pick. I really do. Now let's get to number 10 because the Philadelphia Eagles, before I even scroll to it, the more and more I look at it and seeing the guys who are going now, Bijan Robinson could be a real possibility. And maybe you don't draft him at 10, maybe you trade back, but I think he's a real possibility. Let's get into it. Nolan Smith. Okay. The freak athlete could serve as an apprentice to Brandon Graham for a season before, he gets up out of there, retires. I like the pick. And I think there's never too high for a twitchy pass rusher. I don't want to compare him to Micah Parsons because Micah Parsons was different coming out of college. The only problem was you didn't know if he was an edge rusher or you didn't know if he was an off-the-ball linebacker. Cowboys figured that out. He's an edge rusher off that edge. So now, I like this. Twitchy was hurt this season, but we know about him. We know his pedigree. 5-star recruit. Went to Georgia at all schools, and we know what those linemen, those pass rushers possess. So he's of that nature, ran the 4.39, but I don't really care about that. I just know that he's twitchy off the edge. Like I said, I don't live and die by 40-yard dashes. So, interesting pick that they went here. Only thing I have to say about this pick, you got Josh Sweat, you got Hassan Reddick. Those guys aren't the youngest, but they're not the oldest either. You never have enough pass rush. You never have enough defensive linemen. And maybe for a team that's going to digress in the secondary, they kept Bradbury in Slay. But if you think Terrell Edmonds and whoever their safety is to pair with him, Blankenship, any guy that they could draft, any guy there, if you think that's the case, we just want to get pass rushers to, escape some of the problems we have in the back end, escape what we have at linebacker. And I don't see the problem here. I like the pick. I like the pick. Number 11, Titans, Paris Johnson Jr. I don't really want to waste too much time on this. Taylor Lewan is doing. You get a left tackle, dominant, athletic, can add some things, but it's kind of nitpicking at that point. I think he's a pretty solid left tackle coming into the NFL, has the traits, the size, the arm length. I love this pick actually, and I don't see, unless he goes to the Chicago Bears. Now you could say it's interesting that the Bears didn't take Paris Johnson, but I think the Titans or the Bears are in play for him. I don't see him getting outside of that. Unless maybe, a team like the Raiders tries it. But Houston, Texas. Now I like this. Jackson Smith and Jigba. So I really want to talk about this as the talking point because we say Quentin Johnson is that X, or Jordan Addison can maybe be that outside receiver who's dominant in the NFL. And that's a good selling point. But I saw an offense who was off the charts in the Dallas Cowboys, and their best receiver was CeeDee Lamb. Let me tell you something. CeeDee Lamb is a slot receiver. Jackson Smith and Jigba is a slot receiver. And I don't think this is a hot take. Jackson Smith and Jigba, to me, is a better prospect coming out of college than CeeDee Lamb. Didn't play this season, but I know what he is. I've seen it. I really like this move, okay? Especially with what they have already. Some guys you want to maybe add. Maybe let them develop at the outside. And then we add them into the slot for Bryce Young. This is great. But maybe additionally, though, I could see them going with a defensive player right here. Lucas Van Ness is going. Nolan Smith is going. Kind of high for Miles Murphy, but there's other guys. Let's go over to 13 though. What do we got? New York. Oh, interesting. New York Jets Osiris Torrance. You know, he's talking about what I'm talking about when I say best 5. I wouldn't do this move. I think this is the first pick where I would say I wouldn't do this move. If you go Broderick Jones, you could sell me. But his selling point is trying to kick Elijah Vera Tucker outside to one of those tackle spots. I think he can do it. I don't think it's the elite move as far as what he's best at. And I just wouldn't do it here. A true guard, not really much versatility. I think he would be an all-pro guard potentially, but can't see him to the Jets. I don't see the fit. Let's go over to 14 though. Okay, New England, Broderick Jones. Love it. They got some pretty solid weapons. See, this is a first-round mock draft. So I would say if they go receiver later, I could understand this. But I think with those receivers on the board, you just have to look at them a little bit. Even Joey Porter being on the board, I don't hate Broderick Jones. This is a pick that I can see myself making, so I like it. Just some talking points of other things they could possibly do. Green Bay Packers, Miles Murphy. Wouldn't do it. Wouldn't take Miles Murphy to the Green Bay Packers. And I understand, why the fit may be there and add bodies. Like I said, you never have enough pass rush. But I think this is a class that you can, we've seen it. We got guys like Tui Pelotu. We got guys like Uzama, Will McDonald. I mean, the edge is pretty steep as far as what we're talking about in that second and third round. So I wouldn't do it right here. You could get one of those tight ends. Kincaid may not be your fit, but you could get a Mayer. You can get a Washington. Just some talking. Just what I would do. 16, we got Joey Porter Jr. to the Commanders. I love the move. I don't think that. I just forgot just that fast. Where is Anthony Richardson and where is Will Levis? I'm sorry. Now, understand, this truly could happen. I remember precisely following the draft with Kenny Pickett. Malik Willis was supposed to be a very high draft pick. Fell to the third round. Matt Corral was supposed to be a first round draft pick. Fell. Sam Howell was supposed to be one of those higher draft picks. Fell. So I get it. I couldn't see them dropping this far. That's all I have to say. I don't think this is that type of draft. And like I said, they can add to their secondary. I like their pass rush. They get a secondary. This is going to be a pretty dominant defense in a division that needs defense. You're riding with Jacoby Brissett and Sam Howell. Okay, spicy move. I like it. Pittsburgh Steelers, Deonte Banks. I actually love this move. Think he's one of those man corners. Everyone's salivating in Pittsburgh over the Patrick Peterson, signing. But if you watch Patrick Peterson's film, you're not expecting high-end play from that cornerback position. It's a reason that the Minnesota Vikings defense wasn't the best. And I'm not saying that's all on him because they had some younger corners playing around him. But I don't think he's that guy who's really going to be who you can start and say we don't need anybody else. That's what I'm saying. Deonte Banks is a great pick here. 18. Detroit Lions, Kalijah Kancey. Like I said, I like this move. They got some other guys, Isaiah Buggs. Pretty solid. And you add Kalijah Kancey, you still got Houston, Kaminsky, Hutchinson. Brought back Anzalone. I actually like this pick, and I've mocked this to them. So 19, what do we got? Darnell Wright. So what we're doing is we're banking on Tristan Wirfs shifting to that left tackle and putting Darnell Wright to that right tackle. This is a team that has a couple of needs. I think pass rusher being one of them, but Nolan Smith is gone. But Anthony Richardson, Will Levis, those guys are on the board, and I just don't. One interesting thing that I talk about and that I see with these CBS NFL guys, they got to make these mock drafts. So it's going to be different. It's going to be speculation, a lot of things that may never happen. But it's all about, just being different, adding different perspectives. So we got to love it. Interesting move, wouldn't do it. Seattle Seahawks, Richardson at 20. I think this is a pretty sweet deal. If you could get Richardson at 20 with Jalen Carter at 5, oh my Lord. That's something to be scared of in that NFC. But like I said, Richardson at 20, I get it. And we know all the reasons why he would make sense on this team. I just don't think 20 would be where we got him if we got him. Bijan Robinson, 21, love the pick. Don't really have to question it. You move Austin Eckler, you get some pieces for him. And if you don't get some pieces for him, I mean, it is what it is. You get Bijan. Let's talk about the difference. When I talk about running backs, and why running backs lose their value, why we have this issue is because it's not because Bijan's not great. It's because they're so easy to find. Isaiah Pacheco kind of adds to that case. He's a very hard runner, has some solid vision. I mean, he had a pretty good season, especially in the playoffs, especially in the Super Bowl, behind that line. So we can find that. But I think it's a difference when we talk about a feature back versus a guy who can get it done. Bijan Robinson can be a feature back, and he can be the guy. He can be your offense. I don't say that about a lot of people, but he can be it. Running in those short yardage situations, great cutting ability, great vision, great after the contact, can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can be the offense. And Christian McCaffrey, we saw what he did for San Francisco. So it's kind of hard to knock those guys' value, but you could say it's easy to find. It depends on the team. And for the Chargers, I think this is what they need, actually, because they couldn't run the ball worth a lick. You're up 20 plus points and you lose to Jacksonville. You couldn't run the football. And you didn't really want to run the football. I think that was some things with Brandon Staley and his mindset. But we get Bijan. We're going to be dangerous with the receiving core, with Justin Herbert, with Bijan. Baltimore Ravens get Cam Smith. Pretty solid pick. I mean, Cam Smith, a guy who was ranked higher coming into this draft process. But as we got further and further, his draft stock dropped a bit. Still think he's a good corner. I think you could get him in the second round possibly, but I don't hate the pick. I like it. 23, Zay Flowers. Honestly, hot take alert, but it's not a crazy take. It's just something that a lot of people aren't saying. I can see Zay Flowers being the first receiver off the board. Wherever that is, whatever team wants the receiver first, I can see Zay Flowers being it. You want to make the case to me that, a slot guy, like a Addison, like a Njigba, even though Addison can work outside too, I think Zay Flowers can make the same case for himself. Was productive at Boston College. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. I really like that move, and I think that he could be the first receiver off the board. All right, it's getting scary. Brian Branch. Like this move, seen it, can mock it. Like I said, interesting with him. I think what a lot of people are missing is that I find teams who need safety and they say Brian Branch is our guy. I think Brian Branch is a nickel corner. We look at Kyle Hamilton, and I'm going to keep making this comparison because Kyle Hamilton played in the slot just about every snap. Close to the ball, played a lot of zone coverage, man coverage, whatever they ask him to do. But he was he was a godsend for that Ravens team in the back half of the season. Brian Branch, although he's not the same size as Kyle Hamilton, I think is of the same nature. That slot guy who's going to make plays on the ball, force turnovers, be a difference maker. That's what you need in a defense, and I think he's that. I don't think he's a too high safety. Maybe you can project him transitioning into that, but I just don't think he's that as of right now. So, John Michael Schmitz, I actually like this move. Hot take. Not, like I said, it's not really a hot take. It's just not what we're seeing a lot. And Jordan Addison is still on the board, so kind of side-eyeing that just a bit. But you add that center. John Michael Schmitz, the best center in this draft. It's all it really depends on where you want him. If you want to add that center who's going to be the foundation of your team for the next 10 years, I think John Michael Schmitz is your guy. Like I said, it's all about value and where is he looking on draft day. Can the Giants not get him in the second round? We don't know. But they get him right here in the first. I don't hate the move. Just question, the value a bit. But it's a good player overall. Brian Brzee to Dallas. This is what I've been saying for the longest. I said, because I don't think Elijah Cansey's going to drop to 26. And I think even if he does, what this Dallas team can use. Brian Brzee being versatile. I think he can play in the 4. I think he can play in the 3. I think he can play a 2-eye. I think he can play a 1. He's a menace. I mean, he's a menace on the defensive line. We talk about the tape this year. It was down, but he showed me at that combine. And I don't live and die by the combine. I already said it. But with a guy like Brian Brzee, you want to see that. You want to see that freshman year. We want to see those earlier years, and we want to confirm it. Is that guy still there? He showed me that he was healthy. He showed me that this year can contribute to health along with some family things that happen. Sending prayers out for that. But Brian Brzee's a guy. And I think, like I said, if we were talking about just that first year, I would have put him up there with Jalen Carter. I don't think there's anybody that thinks I'm crazy when I say that. I mean, the tape was crazy. He was crazy. Number 27, this gets crazy. Buffalo Bills, Jordan Addison. I like the move. And I think receiver is actually kind of a need for Buffalo. They brought Cole Beasley off the couch. Had Isaiah McKenzie. He's gone. Pretty solid move, actually. Add him with Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis maybe out the door. Don't see it as a really bad move. I just think he's not gonna be there. All right. So maybe Jahmyr Gibbs or a guy of that range, of that essence, will be the pick here. I don't see Jordan Addison going 27. Now, Cincinnati Bengals, Dalton Kincaid. I think Darnell Washington would be a better fit here. But let's talk about Dalton Kincaid, what he would bring to the Bengals. When Tyler Boyd got injured in that playoff game, they double-teamed Higgins. They double-teamed Jamar Chase. They basically said, everybody else, you can't beat us. They couldn't beat him. Hayden Hurst didn't create the separation against man coverage that would really prevent them from doubling a Jamar or a T. Higgins. And even if T. Higgins can't get paid, he may be out the door soon. Dalton Kincaid adds that weapon along with Jamar Chase. It's an interesting move. I think all of those tight ends, whether it be Mayer, Kincaid, or Washington, can go in the first round. And I'm talking about the first tight end off the board. I think all of them can be the first tight end off the board. But I like this move. I just think Darnell Washington, being that blocker that he is, and that red zone threat, I mean, it feels like a match made in heaven to me. New Orleans Saints, Michael Mayer. Pretty solid move. Actually, what is Alvin Kamara's situation? That's the question mark. But I think you add Michael Mayer, Michael Thomas, Chris Olave. Pretty solid offensive line. Had a top 5 defense last season. I like this move. Just haven't seen this a lot as far as what we're adding, because they're not horrible at tight end. but you add Michael Mayer, we're thinking he's just that much better. So, Philadelphia Eagles. No. Mozzie Smith is not the guy for the Philadelphia Eagles. Like I said, Brian Brzee, Elijah Cansey, I could see. Even an Adel Brawray in the second round. You got Jordan Davis. That's your nose tackle. I think Mozzie Smith is a nose tackle. Wouldn't add those two players. Nah. I mean, I can't even, if anything, just get Jahmyr Gibbs right here. Really, if you want to do that. Will McDonald. No, you already got Nolan Smith, so Will McDonald would be out of play. DeJuan Jones. Any guy. I just don't see. And defensive tackle is not a bad pick, but a nose tackle instead of more of a traditional 3-tech. That's kind of where the questions come in. 31. Adebawore. This is interesting, actually. You got George Karlaftis. The Chiefs are a 4-3 football team. I mean, everybody's running multiple nowadays, nickel, all of these things of that nature. But we're talking about their base. And Frank Clark, yes, you do have to replace him. But I think a Will McDonald, coming off the edge, I see him as a first-round pick. Even Uzama. So those are two guys. Adebawore, I just don't know if he sticks on the edge in the NFL, and that's my only question. So, a good player, but is he a fit for this team? I don't think so. And that's gonna wrap it up. So this is some pretty solid stuff. I would say the pick that I questioned the most had to be Osiris Torrance to the Jets, out of all of them. But overall, this was just a really good talking point, really good going over these things and seeing what we got talking about these players and scenarios, guys who missed. And I'm going to show you this. There is no Will Levis in this first round. And I've seen even Herndon Hooker getting into the first round on some mocks. One thing I do want to say about Herndon Hooker, I'm not of the age thing. I think you get 10 years out of any franchise quarterback, you're loving that. So I don't think that's what's, lowering his stock. I think just coming off the injury, having that running style that he has, can he stay healthy? He's coming off of ACL injury, so can he stay healthy with that style of play? But that's that. Pretty solid draft though. I think let's talk about who hit it out of the park the most. I think personally, to get Jalen Carter and Anthony Richardson, I think that's just a hit out of the park. Chargers with Bijan is another pick that I like. Kincaid to the Bengals are some picks that I like, but it's a pretty solid mock draft. Some question marks, and like I said, you got to change it up. When you work for these companies. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. That's gonna wrap it up for this video. Good having that different perspective. Instead of a mock draft, we get to look at somebody else and talk about these players. Like I said, pretty soon you may be looking at a video with my favorite players in this NFL draft and not just, first round guys. I'm talking about Tank Dell. I'm talking about Will McDonald. I'm talking about Darnell Washington, Adebawore, those type of guys. Dan Henley, Pittsburgh. Please go get Dan Henley. But other than that, that's going to wrap it up for today. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you made it this far, because this was a really interesting video. Really love looking at this draft. But now, we out.